All right, now I am recording and bear with me while I stream live real quick to Facebook. I give me just a moment. So we want to do this real fast, and I'm not going to hold y'all long because this is not a scheduled show. This is just something I felt I had to do right now, right fast. So bear with me as I just let the folk know what's up. There's some things that I'm just saying real quick. Gotta get off my chest. Some food for thought for our community. So thank you for bearing with me as I get this going. For those of y'all who are on YouTube and may watch this later. Yay. Okay. We're almost there. Thank you. The way the technology works, everything isn't directly in sync, doesn't happen simultaneously at the same time. You got to bring things online. And when you're a team of one, like me, I'm my own team, we got to figure stuff out. So here we are. Okay. Not going to hold y'all long. Good evening. Today is Tuesday. I keep looking at the calendar always. So I'm like, what day is it? Today is Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. And this is a departure. So we will be here for the Chamia Show live community check-in via Zoom on Facebook Live on Sunday, the 24th from 2 to 3:30. But there's a couple of things that I just felt I had to say, that I had to share with us in advance of the planned inaugural activities planned for tomorrow and everything else. Let me just say this. Let me sit it right here for y'all to think about. Share it, if you will, and stay safe. That's what I want. That's what I'm advocating for, is that the health, safety, well-being, growth, and sustainability of our Black community. I love y'all, right? I love y'all. So, fam, there's some things that we need to know. So I put together just a small presentation. I'm working on a few things. The documentary project is still ongoing. Feel free to reach out if you want to be a part of that. But again, there's some critical stuff happening and I need us to be aware. So I'm going to share my screen with you because there's just a few things that I need us to know. So I'm going to come in here. All right. And let me share. All right. So I assume that you are seeing my screen right now and that you are seeing the Just Chamia Show logo. There's a lot going on in our world. There's a lot happening in our country. Tomorrow is the scheduled inauguration of the next administration, that being the incoming president, Joe Biden, and Vice President Kamala Harris. But let us not forget not just what happened 2 weeks ago, so 13 days ago right now on January 6th, 2021, but also our overall daily experiences, our historical experiences as Black folk in this country. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. And really what I want to talk to us about today is what is going on. We need to be aware and we need to be careful with the messages that we are receiving, the things that we're internalizing, the things that we're processing, making decisions on, and the things that we're then taking action upon, whether it's directly in our day-to-day lives, conversations we're having with other people, or more tangible actions. We need to stop. We need to critically take a look at what's being served to us. We need to critically listen and incline our ears to truth. And we really need to think not just about what's happening around us and to us, but what does this mean for me? What does this mean for my Black life? What does this mean for my Black community? I need us to think that, because all of the spin and the distraction will have us sidetracked and focusing on things that don't matter most to us, to our community, to our lives. Okay? This may come as a hard pill to swallow for some people. And I apologize if it offends anyone, but it's the truth. And so I don't apologize for speaking truth. Here's the truth. Tomorrow by 12 noon, when Joe Biden is sworn in as president of the United States, you will still be Black. It's a fact. Not only that, you will still be Black in America. So, like many people thought on December 31st, 2020, that January 1st, 2021 would be the turning of a page and a refreshed and a new experience for us in this country. Guess what? COVID's still here. Whatever it boils down to, we still Black, and we still Black in America. So I need us to really be aware. Be aware of your existence and your position in any situation and circumstance, whether it's how you're voting and what the elected officials do for you, do for our community, your expectations of them, how you're treating one another, how you're interpreting and internalizing the news and the facts. That's really important. We need to stop, we need to look, we need to listen, we need to think critically for our own good. Think about that. What do you mean, Chamia? What are you saying? Get to it. All right, let's take a look. This is one slide that has a lot of stuff on it. There's a lot of information here that you've seen and heard over the last 2 weeks. So what happened 2 weeks ago? I'm just using this as an example. What happened 2 weeks ago was just an example. Is this the first time we've seen domestic terrorism here? No. And I'm not just talking about Timothy McVeigh, the Unabomber. I'm not just talking about Kyle Rittenhouse, who's walking around free right now or on bail or whatever you want to call it. I'm not just talking about those things. I'm not just talking about, you know, the threats and the attempted kidnapping of, or the stated attempt on kidnapping of the mayor of, the governor of Michigan, or how the Capitol there was taken, or how armed militia have taken and held other federal and state buildings or facilities in this country. There's countless examples, but let's just start with and talk about today the act of domestic terrorism that's not being called that, that happened 2 weeks ago on the 6th. So what happened 2 weeks ago on the 6th? So thousands gathered in Washington, D.C. at the mall for a rally. They were invited, they were incited, they were welcomed in, they were supported. This is all after some planning that happened at multiple levels with so many hundreds of people were involved. And I'm not just talking about the terrorists that we saw breaking windows and walking through the building, shuffling through papers and stealing laptops. No, I'm talking about those who gave them tours the day before, those who had phone conversations and email exchanges in the weeks prior. It's deep. But let me just talk about what's on this slide, right? Because what's on this slide is the repackaging of truth. What's happening right now is the writing of history, okay? So it's the writing of history dressed in the context of what you saw, what really happened by them. And we know as Black folk that this country is notorious for lying about the facts, lying about the retelling of the facts, and documenting the lies, putting it in textbooks, selling those textbooks to education systems all over this country, whether it's at the elementary level or at the collegiate level, and packaging it as history. So what I saw with my eyes, what I heard with my ears, was an act of domestic terrorism that was carried out by thousands, planned. It was a very detailed plan that was carried out thoughtfully for all to see. But what we have that day and since, so the image in the center of the screen was from that day on CNN. Pick a channel, you would have seen similar headlines. U.S. Capitol on lockdown amid pro-Trump what? Protests. Pro-Trump protests. Not only was this not a fucking protest, it was a terrorist attack. But let's be real, y'all. This is not about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a symptom of a greater disease, the greater disease being white supremacy, which is the foundation of this country. Oh my gosh, Chamia saying some truth. Facts. We're not talking about that. I don't care where you're getting your news, if it's mainstream, whether it's Fox News, ABC News, CNN, who else we got up here? New York Times, Washington Post. There's a lot of them. Forbes. Excuse me. The narrative is the same. And the narrative is one of a distraction from the truth. The truth being America is foundationally racist. America as the America that was stolen from the indigenous people here and built and shaped into what it is today. And what happened was there was a domestic terrorism attack launched by white supremacists and their allies on the country, the government. And I'm not just saying the Capitol building, because there have been attacks around the country. When I see young Black women getting surrounded and beaten by these white supremacists, as happened with Berlinda Nito in Los Angeles, and the other brothers and sisters that we've seen across Instagram and Twitter, saying that they were walking alone or running alone or doing whatever they was doing in their life, living free, and then they're attacked by these people. So it wasn't a protest, it was a terrorist attack. And it's not just pro-Trump supporters. Yeah, they might support him too. But these were white supremacists trying to maintain their perceived way of life and existence, sustaining and maintaining their power and privilege. That's what this is about. Okay, what else do we have? So that's just that middle image. And we have the spin. You guys are seeing the spin here, all right? And what happened from the moment that I'm seeing with my eyes this domestic terrorism attack, I'm also seeing and hearing the spin and interpretation of what I'm seeing. Oh, what we're seeing is a mob storming the Capitol of angry pro-Trump supporters, protesters. We've occasionally heard this word insurrectionist being thrown about, but not terrorism, not domestic terrorists, not white supremacists. Oh, a couple of them may have been some supremacists, but no, it's a problem. The spin has also gone in the capturing and the retelling of the lie, and the documenting of history is happening right now. For example, here in the San Francisco Bay Area in California, where I live at, there was a story the following day NBC Bay Area. How do teachers explain, how do teachers and parents explain Capitol riots to students? You guys can search for the story. I'm sure there were others in whatever geography you live in that day and since. So we're talking about, this was published on January 7th, 2021. It's kind of at the center of the screen here. Already, there's a spin, and how do we tell the children the lie about what happened and what it was about? Here, let me give it to you. Why am I saying this? This is important because it's not just about today. This is about 50 years from now, 100 years from now, and it's going to impact my future generations and yours. You need to know this. We need to be documenting the facts as told through the lens of our Black perspective right now. The truth. What happened? What did we call it? One of I'm not a proponent of the Black Lives Matter organization. They do what they do. They got their billions. Good for y'all. But one of the other narratives that's being shared here is the fact that Black folks, if it had been Black folks to do this, well, it wouldn't, because we wouldn't even get that far. If we was planning and doing all the chattering and talking, and if we was meeting with elected officials and doing it, just wouldn't even happen. So we don't have to say half has been Black folk. Please don't another one of us say half has been Black folk, because it ain't us and it would have never been us. So let's stop that. But what has happened in the spin and the narrative and the capturing of history and the breadcrumb sprinkling and all those things that happened was this narrative that, and you see something here from Washington Post, kid glove treatment of pro-Trump mob, again, not terrorists, not white supremacist group that launched terror attack, none of that. Kid glove treatment of pro-Trump mob contrast with strong arm police tactics against Black Lives Matter, activists say. Facts, we know, we show up, we get beat down. But the problem we have here, the problem that I have here, and the problem that y'all should have, Black people, is that they're comparing an act of terrorism with an act of protest for basic human rights. And that shit ain't right. How we have to advocate for our lives and protest as our Black men, women, and children are being brutally beaten, maimed, paralyzed, or even worse, murdered, is not the same as an act of domestic terrorism. And the two should not be compared. And it wasn't just compared by the Washington Post. It was compared by even y'all, President-elect Joe Biden, when he got back up after giving a whole ass speech on January 6th. And he didn't even acknowledge racial disparities then. But he did when he came back on the 7th. And somebody gave him a talking point and said, had this been Black Lives Matter, we know it would have gone differently. That's putting it lightly, but I'm not going down that path. I just want you all to be aware. We're stopping, we're looking, we're listening, and we're thinking critically about what's being served to us. There was a domestic terrorist attack on the United States of America on January 6, 2021. It was broadcast live for the world to see. But the spin by those who control the media, the writing and telling of history, are saying things like, these are the rioters who stormed the nation's capital. The mob that rampaged the halls of Congress included infamous white supremacists and conspiracy theorists. No. We're seeing that a rare sedition charge gains interest after the Capitol attack. It's an attack. Capitol attack, not a terrorist attack. These people came with plans. We know that there are some arrests being made. And that's a good thing that arrests are being made. Arrests should be made. Hundreds, if not thousands, of people should be arrested for this act of terrorism. Members of Congress, and I'm just not just talking about the 2 or 3 haul in crews. And no, there were more. There were more. Since November, those that were saying that the election was a lie and stirring up these white supremacist terrorists, a lot of people have jumped ship since this happened. Oh, shit just got real. Ooh, I'm trying to get reelected. Oh, I'm trying to stay in here for a little bit longer. Ooh, I can't be seen with y'all, but here goes some money. Here goes some access. Here's a key card. I support you on my second screen name on Instagram. Come on, y'all. We know how the game go. How do we know that this was an act of terrorism and not just protesters, a mob that was just mad that, their justice, their fairness, their election, their votes weren't counting? Well, what's America doing about it? For one, their intelligence agencies are saying, oh, no, this is real. We knew. We sent letters. It was a problem. Now, nothing was done to prevent it because, again, there was a whole bunch of people complicit in the planning and the participation of it. Call it what it is. It don't take a genius for that. It don't take spin by pick your favorite personality on television and say, oh, what happened? Let's talk about this for 8 hours. And I don't know. Let's bring in our experts. What y'all think? We don't need all that. Because you saw it with your eyes, you heard it with your ears, and your brain is smart enough to know what it was. But they knew, and they know that the threat is still real. Why? Because white supremacy has been here for over 400 years. It ain't going away overnight, but they don't want to talk about that. We just want to talk about protesters. So what are they saying? What's the bulletin? Armed protests are being planned at all 50 state capitals, FBI bulletin says. Armed protests, not additional domestic terrorism attacks. Armed protests. 20,000 National Guard troops deploying to DC. 20 to 25,000. They sleeping there. Y'all seen the picture. They laid up on them hard marble floors. I'm assuming they marble, whatever kind of stone they were. Laid up. Gates are all up around the city. There are more troops in Washington, D.C. than there are in Afghanistan and Iraq combined. I'm not saying nothing you can't look up for yourself. Here's just some examples. We got more troops here for these protesters, using their word, protesters, than we do over there watching out for Al Qaeda and ISIS and all these other groups that we've told have been terrorists in Afghanistan and Iraq since at least 2001. What? But this is just protesters, right? Can y'all please hurry up and think and stop subscribing to the bullshit? Stop sharing it. Turn it off. Let them know that you're not buying into that. Yeah, stay informed and see. But it's not just for us that they're selling the lies to. They're selling it to the global audiences. This is how history will be written, y'all. What does this mean for us? That thousands of angry, hateful, armed terrorists can do stuff like this and get trespassing charges. What it means is more of your standard Black life, more of your experience, more of being scared when that police officer who was at the rally, you don't know who they was, because these people were everywhere. These were police officers, military folk, elected officials, teachers, realtors, Your boss at work, the person that's fixing your food at Pick a Restaurant, that's who these folks were, y'all. But you supposed to be comfortable in your black skin and walk around, hey, easy breezy, twerk something. We gonna twerk on DC like Black Lives Matter posted on their Instagram yesterday. Come on, y'all. You got to know it. Oh, social media companies are scrambling to stop the spread of Trump's false claim. Trump and who else? Because Don Jr.'s page was still up, Giuliani's page was still up, Michael Flynn's page was still pick a person. Now they doing something? These corporations that give, I can't even tell you, millions of dollars to these people, to these movements, to these causes. Oh, we're going to stop our advertising for a month. Then back to the, don't get caught up, sidetracked, bamboozled by the breadcrumbs. That little bit of stuff, that ain't no real action for them. That's to keep you quiet and pacified and in your motherfucking place. Keep your kids in line. Tell them this, give them this. Keep you in line at work. Those same people who do all of this spin will have you thinking that racism and white supremacy only shows up on the Capitol steps or at the National Mall or at a Trump rally. When in reality, it's at every level of our existence in this country. They'll have you thinking that the racism you experience in your job, oh, microaggression, just a little microaggression. That's not real. That's not racism. We're not racist up in here. Y'all, Black folk, my people, whom I love, we need to be aware. We need to be aware. We need to stop saying, yes, I'll take a few more breadcrumbs. I'll receive this. Oh, that is what happened when we see and hear and experience things differently. The truth is the truth. And you got to say no thank you to this stuff. But there's more, because I ain't gonna hold you long. This is not the whole show. Come back on Sunday at 2 to 3, 2 to 3:30 Pacific time, and we'll talk more. And I want to hear from you. I want to check in, community. I ain't even asking for the feedback and the input today. Give it to me, sure. DM me, put it in the comments, whatever you want to do. Share, right? Because it's not just me. There are some woke, I hate that term because, oh my God, it's so misused. There are some knowledgeable Black people out there who are saying truth, speaking truth, and trying to game us up and to tool us up. And you need to listen to them. I'll try to share more of those voices. But this right here, this is not an example of that. And I don't care if the face on CNN is Black or the face on MSNBC might be Black. They still playing into their narrative to keep their job. Their narrative not being the Black person, but the corporations, the network, those people who are not meant to serve us. Because if they were there to serve us, there'd be a whole lot more of us there in the first place at every level, but we not. So that's a whole nother. Anyway, let's keep down this path. In their words, because I want you to know, I'm using words like terrorism and treason and all this. Let's look at their words and the definitions. This is important. You need to know this. So here's the source. You can look it up for yourself. So from the U.S. government, the government of the United States of America, here is how they define treason. Treason, whoever, owing allegiance to the United States, levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death or be imprisoned not less than 5 years and fined under this title, but not less than $10,000, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. What that sound like? Who that sound like? Who did that? Let's continue. Rebellion or insurrection. Whoever incites, sets foot, assists, or engage in any rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the United States or the laws thereof, or gives aid or comfort thereto shall be fined under the title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. Again, we didn't have elected, all kind of folks there. We saw them in the crowd. It's all on camera. The whole world saw. Trespassing charges. Okay. Seditious conspiracy. If two or more persons in any state or territory or in any place subject to the jurisdiction of the United States conspire to overthrow, put down, or to destroy by force the government of the United States, or to levy war against them, or to oppose by force the authority thereof, or by force to prevent, hinder, or delay the execution of any laws of the United States. Didn't y'all see some hindering happening on and some delaying happening on? Why is sedition not what everybody at the very level being charged with? I saw that. I thought I saw sedition happening on live TV, me and the billions to the world that it was broadcast to. And it's been replayed a whole lot. That's what I thought. By the law. Okay, let's go to the next one. Last bullet, fourth bullet here, advocating overthrow of the government. Now, these are not my terms. This is in the law. Click it here. You could Google it. Or you could click, there's the link, type it in, all them letters, type that in. These are their terms in this law here. Advocating overthrow of the government. Whoever knowingly or willfully advocates, abets, advises, or teaches the duty, necessity, desirability, or propriety of overthrowing or destroying the government of the United States or the government of any state, territory, district of possession thereof, or the government of any political subdivision therein by force or violence. Didn't we see a whole bunch of this? I saw a whole bunch of this on the 6th and before and since. By violence or by the assassination of any officer of any such government, which aren't our police sworn officers? Okay, go ahead on. Let me go on. Or whoever, with the intent to cause the overthrow or destruction of any government, prints, publishes, edits, issues, circulates, sells, distributes, or publicly displays any written or printed matter advocating, advising, or teaching the duty, necessity, desirability, or propriety of overthrowing or destroying any government in the United States by force or violence, or attempts to do whatever. Their words, their laws. I understand it. I mean, you could pick any word. You could look up the word guilty in Merriam-Webster or Oxford dictionaries. You could look up the word. If you don't understand no part of this, look it up. But I understand this. I just read these laws, their laws, and I'm saying my eyes and ears saw and heard this happening. I just showed you on the previous slide, that's not what the spin is saying, and that's not what the justice is doing. Not yet, they're investigating. More of their words. Here's the link. Terrorism, as used in this chapter, because you know they got a whole bunch of parts. Terrorism, as used in this chapter. 1, the term international terrorism means activities that A, involve violent acts or acts dangerous to human life that are in violation of the criminal laws of the United States or any state, B, appear to be intended to intimidate or coerce a civilian population, to influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion, or to affect the conduct of government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping, and occur primarily outside. Now that's international terrorism. But then if we come down to where it says number 5, the term domestic terrorism, so that's about 2/3 way down your screen. The term domestic terrorism means that A, involves acts dangerous to human life that are a violation of the criminal laws of the United States or of any state. B, appear to be intended to 1, intimidate or coerce a civilian population. 2, to influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion. Or 3, to affect the conduct of a government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping. And C, occur primarily within the territorial jurisdiction of the United States. And so, okay, did y'all see this? Because what my eyes saw, what my ears heard, on January 6, 2021, according to their words and definitions from the United States government, was an act of domestic terrorism. It wasn't trespassing. Let's go get him from his mama house down there, round him up. Y'all seen these people? We got billboards up here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Digital billboards. Hey, if you have any information, y'all know who these people were that were there. Guess what? They done been on the news telling their events. What? Oh, well, I was there. I didn't go in the Capitol building, but I was there. I saw the interviews. I recorded some of them. FBI ain't got to look far if you want to find these domestic terrorists. According to your words, that's what we saw, right? More of their words. So here I'm going to click to, this is the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the United States. You can see it here in the web address. So they have this document, Domestic Terrorism Definitions, Terminology, and Methodology. All right. So they say it again here. This is on their letterhead and everything. Y'all could go to this. Definitions: domestic terrorism for the FBI's purposes is referenced in U.S. Code, yada, yada, and is defined as activities involving acts dangerous to human life that are a violation of the criminal laws of the United States or of any state, appearing to be intended to, the stuff I just read in the law that y'all got, occurring primarily within the territorial jurisdiction of the United States. This is a definitional statute, not a charging statute. Interesting. I wonder if all them folks in Guantanamo knew that. We talk about the threat these actors pose as domestic terrorism threats. They're giving themselves an out, y'all, because they've also identified domestic terrorism as the number one looming threat to the United States of America. They've been talking about this for years. But each of the FBI's threat categories described in further detail below uses the words violent extremism because the underlying ideology itself and the advocacy of such beliefs is not prohibited by US law. So you can think terrorist thoughts, but it's not until you go into being a violent. Okay, so let's look at this. In using the term domestic terrorism, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, looks to the Homeland Security Act definition of terrorism, the code, which is substantially similar, but not identical to Title 18 definition. That provision defines terrorism as any act that is dangerous to human life or potentially destructive of critical infrastructure or key resources, and is a violation of the criminal laws of the United States or any state or other subdivision of the United States, and appears to be intended to intimidate or coerce civilian population, to influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion, or to affect the conduct of a government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping. They go on to all this other kind of stuff. Racially and ethnically motivated violent extremism. We didn't talk about white supremacy. We didn't say that. Anti-government and anti-authority violent extremism. January 6th, we saw that. Animal rights, environmental violent extremism. We're gonna talk more about that. And then these other things, all other domestic terrorism threats. So bottom line, y'all, we saw this. We saw this happening. Domestic terrorism. All right. This was the National Mall in Washington, D.C. before the terrorism attack on the Capitol building. This is a picture of the thousands, the multitudes that gathered to hear all of the speakers and the hate speech and the rallying, all of that. Why is this important, Chamia? This is important because on January 6, 2021, I was living, I know my eyes, my ears, my body and everything, I'm quarantined at home, working at home, doing all this stuff, right? Why? Because there's a global pandemic that's killing millions of people. And in this country, it's, oh my God, it's worse than anywhere on the planet. Wow. On January 6th, this coronavirus was worse than anywhere on the planet. It's killing millions of people. And in this country, it's killing Native Americans and Black people more than anybody else. Come on down, y'all, by the thousands during the pandemic. Get this, COVID. Don't wear no mask and let's spread this. What did this look like to me? Y'all see this picture of all these thousands of people. What did it look like to me? It looked like biological warfare. Biological warfare. Here's the definition. Google it. Google biological warfare definition, and this is what you'll get because this is where I got this definition from. I'm talking about the thing on the right, the screenshot on the right from Google, which uses the Oxford Languages Dictionary. They write 150 of the most used dictionaries in the world, something like that. They credible. All right. Biological warfare. The use of toxins, that's my dryer. Sorry, I'm doing real mom shit. The use of toxins of biological origin or microorganisms as weapons of war. Let's not stop there. World Health Organization. Biological weapons are microorganisms like viruses, bacteria, fungi, or other toxins that are produced and released deliberately to cause death, disease and death in humans, animals, or plants. Biologic agents like anthrax, botulinum toxin, and plague can pose a difficult public health challenge, causing large numbers of deaths in a short amount of time while being difficult to contain. Don't that sound like COVID, y'all? Bioterrorism attacks could also result in an epidemic, for example, of if Ebola or Lassa viruses were used as the biological agents. Biological weapons is a subset of a larger class of weapons referred to as weapons of mass destruction. The use of biological agents is a serious problem, and the risk of using these agents in a bioterrorist attack is increasing. Hey, let me tell the whole country that COVID is here and COVID is real. And COVID is everywhere. It's on every continent on the earth. But it's most rampant in America. And in America, it's most deadly to Black people. You gonna give that nugget to a group of white supremacists and expect them to do what? Mask up? Stay home? This is what they do. What does this mean, family? What this means is that, like I said before, it's so critical that we're aware. It's critical that we're cautious. Most importantly, it's critical that we stop taking in the lies, that we stop repeating the lies, that we stop sharing the lies on social media, that we stop sending our mamas and our grandmamas, our aunties and our uncles the article from your favorite liar on TV or print, whatever. We stop doing that. It's important that we look, that we see things through our own eyes, that we hear things through our own ears, that we shape our own thoughts, and that we tell the truth, that we document it and we tell the truth. We can't keep doing this. We can't keep doing this. Why, Chamia? We can't keep doing this because it's killing us. It's killing some of us now, but it's killing all of us for generations and generations and generations. It's stymieing our growth. It's hindering our growth. It's stopping our growth. Let's not continue to stunt our children to feed them the lies that we've been served. Let's not feed them and teach them and raise them up on the same mannerisms of mass reception and inception of lies and spin. Let's not raise them up malnourished on the breadcrumbs of pacification. When you want to know what you can do to make your Black life better, If you have children or parents or relatives that are Black or neighbors or community members that are Black, that's something you could do. Stop with that bullshit. Stop listening to it. Stop sharing it. Stop buying into it. Stop believing it. Look with your own eyes, not what they telling you you see. You know what you saw. You know what you hear. What do you think about that? What is truth? Truth, if even applied by their laws. The truth is, I saw domestic terrorism by their definitions. Sedition, all this other stuff. That's what I saw with my own eyes on January 6, 2021. Now I see a whole lot more on other days. Let us not forget that on January 5th, so the day before this terrorist attack, some of these folks got up at a podium and said that, hey, even though y'all saw this unarmed Black man put his babies in the car, because we saw this whole tape, put his babies in the car, walk around the car to the driver's door while the officer's walking behind him, grab his shirt, shoot him 7 times, close range in the back, paralyze him in front of his children. But that's not a crime. Just because they say it don't make it so. It is a crime. Just because they tell you you're not getting promoted, you're not getting recognition for your work, your ideas, your contributions, you being shushed and shut down, you being put on the most grunt, dirtiest assignments, just because they tell you all those things are microaggressions, don't mean you got to pick that shit up and believe it. No, that's what racism looks like in your day-to-day life. That's what it looks like, y'all. We experience it. I experience it. I bet you the Black folks that have been born in this country have experienced it at multiple times throughout their entire lives. Hold on now. I'm having conversations. Y'all can go on my LinkedIn and see who I am and where I'm at and what I'm doing. Some of it, because, LinkedIn shows you snapshots. Resumes show snapshots. I'm doing a whole lot. But if in one of my capacities in working with the community is serving in our education system, and I'm hearing, children, elementary school children calling each other, calling another the N-word, writing it, scribing it, laughing about it, unremorseful. Racism just don't happen in some places or Washington, D.C. on TV. It happens every day, everywhere, at every level of our society. And we need to be real about that. And we need to hold people accountable to that. So if you want to dialogue with me, if you want to talk to me about what we can do, how can I be an ally? Start with truth. Start with truth. And the truth is, America is foundationally racist. And if I hear one more person getting up talk about healing, how can we heal when we ain't did the surgery yet? You go to surgery, then you go to post-op and recovery, then you might have some rehabilitation, then you healing and on with your life. We ain't even did the surgery. We don't even want to do the diagnosis. We still saying these are bad apples and a few white supremacists in the crowd. Y'all ain't got to believe me. I give you the information. Go read it for yourself. Look with your own eyes. We could do better. And it starts with me. It starts with you as an individual. What you choose to receive, how you choose to view things, how you're sharing about that, the accountability that you place on yourself and others. Those are things within our control. There's a whole lot that's not. We ain't have the power that white people have in this country. We ain't never had it. I don't care how much money you make. They still put LeBron sprayed his house down with the N-word. I don't care about your millions. N-I. You understand? You can have money. That don't mean you made it. And most of us ain't got no money. Money ain't the only thing. We need a whole lot more. And we need it for generations. There's no timeline on what they can do to pay us back and give us what's needed. There's a million excuses as to why they won't, but it boils down to one: preservation of power and privilege. One, theirs. I wanted y'all to think about this. I wanted you to look with your own eyes, hear with your own ears, truth. I want you to think critically about everything being served to you. Again, racism don't just happen out in the world, it's everywhere you at. And so as we turn the page on this day and we go until tomorrow, whatever it may bring, with the swearing in of another administration, remember, you still Black. And I still love you and I'm here for you. Spread that word. So, folks, I will see you Sunday, January 24th from 2 to 3:30 Pacific time on Facebook Live at Chamia LaRae. Let's talk about stuff that matters to us. Let's not keep talking about their stuff and their lies. That's distracting us from the things that matter to us. It's distracting us from progressing and growing in the ways that we can grow. All right. I love y'all. Be blessed. Love your Black selves. I love you. I'll see you Sunday.